The sound of drilling woke Marcus Brennan at 6:30 on a Saturday morning. Not construction noise from the street. Not a neighbor's renovation project. This was coming from his backyard. The 52-year-old environmental engineer stumbled to his window and froze. 3 contractors with a massive drilling rig were tearing into the earth next to his natural spring. The one that had fed his property for 40 years. The one his late father had shown him how to care for when Marcus was just 10 years old. 4 months of HOA harassment had finally escalated to this. But today, everything was about to change. Where are you from? Tell us in the comments below. And if you're loving this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales of justice served. Now, let's see exactly how this unfolded. This is a story in 3 parts. The violation that pushed a good person too far. The confrontation where power shifted completely. And the resolution where justice was finally served. The first part takes you into Marcus Brennan's world. A world where a man who dedicated 30 years to protecting water resources watched, helplessly, as his own HOA president declared war on his family's natural spring. You'll feel the weight of sleepless nights, the frustration of legal letters ignored, the pain of watching bulldozers approach something precious. 4 months of escalating threats, failed negotiations, and dismissive responses from people who thought a homeowner had no power against their authority. The moment when Marcus realized that being reasonable had gotten him nowhere, and that sometimes you have to stop asking for permission and start asserting your rights. The second part is where everything explodes. The morning the drilling started without warning, without permits, without permission. The moment Marcus stepped into his backyard and revealed exactly what the HOA had just done. The phone calls that followed. The documents that changed everything. The realization on Karen Whitmore's face when she understood she'd made a catastrophic miscalculation. The third part delivers the reckoning. Legal consequences, community fallout, and the complete dismantling of an HOA board that thought themselves untouchable. Justice, served cold and absolutely devastating. Here's exactly how it happened. Marcus Brennan had lived at 2847 Ridgemont Drive for his entire life. His parents had bought the property in 1973, back when Pinewood Heights was just farmland and dirt roads. Long before it became the gated community of manicured lawns and strict regulations it was today. The natural spring on the eastern edge of his 2-acre lot had been there since before recorded history, bubbling up crystal clear water that fed into Blackwood Creek. As an environmental engineer specializing in water rights and aquifer management, Marcus understood better than most people just how rare and valuable his spring truly was. It wasn't just sentimental. It was geological heritage, legally documented and protected under Colorado water law since 1891, when his father passed away 3 years ago. Marcus had inherited not just the house but the spring rights, the mineral rights, and a stack of legal documents dating back to territorial days. He filed everything properly with the county, maintained his water quality reports, and kept meticulous records. The spring fed his irrigation system, filled his pond, and provided habitat for the endangered tiger salamanders he'd been monitoring as part of a state conservation program. Everything was legal, documented, and established, long before the HOA even existed. Then Karen Whitmore moved in next door. The first incident happened in late July. Marcus came home from a site inspection in Grand Junction to find a certified letter taped to his front door. HOA violation notice. It read in bold red letters. Subject: unauthorized water feature. The letter claimed his spring constituted an unapproved landscape modification and demanded he fill it in within 30 days or face daily fines of $200. Marcus had stared at the letter in disbelief. His spring predated the HOA by a century. He called Karen directly, explained the situation calmly, even offered to show her the historical documentation. Her response had been ice cold. HOA covenants supersede all previous agreements, Mr. Brennan. Either comply or face the consequences. 3 weeks later, the second incident arrived. Corinne had filed a formal complaint with the HOA board claiming Marcus's spring was causing mosquito problems and property devaluation. The board, stacked with Corinne's tennis partners and country club friends, voted unanimously to escalate enforcement. The daily fines started accumulating. $200 per day, $6,000 per month. Marcus hired a lawyer, submitted his water rights documentation, cited Colorado state law that explicitly protected pre-existing water rights. The HOA's attorney sent back a dismissive two-sentence response. Homeowner covenants are binding. Legal action will proceed. By October, things turned genuinely frightening. Marcus came home one evening to find survey stakes driven into the ground around his spring. No notification. No explanation. Just orange flags marking his property like it was scheduled for demolition. He pulled them up, hands shaking with rage. The next morning, they were back. And the morning after that, Corinne had taken to walking past his house 3 times a day, always slowing down to stare at the spring, always smiling that cold, calculated smile that made Marcus's blood pressure spike. Marcus had called the county zoning office, the water commissioner, even the state environmental protection agency. Everyone confirmed the same thing. His rights were ironclad. His spring was protected. The HOA had no legal authority. But when he confronted the HOA board at their November meeting with a stack of legal precedents, Corinne had simply smiled and said, "We'll see about that." On Friday, December 6th, Marcus received an email from an unknown address. The subject line read, "Final warning." The message was 3 words long. Monday, 6 a.m. Marcus didn't sleep that night. And on Saturday morning at 6:30, when the drilling started, he finally understood. They weren't going to negotiate. They were just going to destroy it. Marcus threw on jeans and boots and ran outside, his phone already recording video. 3 men in hard hats stood around a truck-mounted drilling rig positioned 15 feet from his spring. The drill bit was already 2 feet into the earth, churning up mud and rock. Corinne Whitmore stood near the property line, arms crossed, watching with satisfaction. "Stop." Marcus's voice cut through the diesel engine noise. "Shut it down right now." The lead contractor glanced at Corinne, who gave a dismissive wave. "Keep working," she called out. "He doesn't have authority here." Marcus walked directly to the drilling rig and positioned himself between the machinery and his spring. The contractor finally shut down the engine. "Sir, you need to step back. We have authorization from the Property Owners Association." "Authorization to drill on my private property?" Marcus pulled out his phone, still recording. "Let me guess. Corinne told you this was common area." The contractor's expression flickered with uncertainty. He pulled a work order from his clipboard. "Says here, this is HOA property, parcel 14B. This is parcel 7, and it's been privately owned since 1891. Marcus's voice was steady now, his engineering training kicking in. "You're currently trespassing and attempting to destroy a legally protected water source. I need your names, your company name, and your contractor's license number." Corinne strode across the lawn, her heels sinking into the soft earth. "Marcus, you're embarrassing yourself." The board voted. This illegal water feature is being capped today. Corinne Elizabeth Whitmore, HOA president, residing at 2851 Ridgemont Drive. Marcus kept his phone trained on her face. "Let me be extremely clear about what you've just done. You've authorized drilling into a natural spring we'd established. Water rights documented with the Colorado Division of Water Resources under Decree Number 1891W347. You've trespassed on private property. You've attempted to destroy a protected water source. And you've done it all without permits, environmental review, or legal authority." Corinne's confident expression wavered slightly. The HOA attorney reviewed. "Your HOA attorney is David Preston, and I spoke with him yesterday." Marcus pulled out a second phone and held up an email. "He specifically advised against any physical action regarding my spring. This email, time-stamped yesterday at 4:15 p.m., tells you to cease all enforcement until the legal review is complete. Did you receive this email, Karen? The color drained from Karen's face. I don't have to explain my decisions to you. No? But you'll explain them to the state water commissioner, the county district attorney, and probably a civil court judge. Marcus turned to the contractors. Gentlemen, your company is Clearwater Drilling. License number CD 47829. Your lead driller is James Morrison. And you two are Scott Chun and Daniel Ruiz. I know this because I pulled your permits this morning. Except there are no permits for this location, which means you're all potentially liable for illegal drilling operations. James Morrison stepped back from the rig. We were told this was cleared with the county. It wasn't. Marcus pulled out yet another document. This is from the county this morning. No permits filed, no applications pending. Karen, you told him this was legal work. This is ridiculous, Karen snapped, but her voice had lost its authority. The HOA has rights. The HOA has covenants that govern lawn height and fence colors. What the HOA does not have is the authority to override state water law, which has been settled case law in Colorado for over a century. Marcus's voice dropped to something cold and final. Here's what happens next. These gentlemen pack up their equipment and leave. You call your attorney and inform him what you've done. And then you wait, because I'm filing complaints with every relevant agency before noon today. State Water Commissioner, County Zoning, Environmental Protection, and the District Attorney's Office. Karen's mouth opened, closed, opened again. You can't. I absolutely can. And Karen? I'm also filing a civil suit for property damage, emotional distress, harassment, and about 6 other charges my attorney is going to love explaining to you. Marcus finally lowered his phone. You wanted to play legal hardball. Congratulations. You just picked a fight with someone who spent 30 years navigating environmental law. The contractors were already disconnecting their equipment. Karen stood frozen, her face pale, her hands trembling. She'd expected a simple confrontation, maybe some yelling, ultimately submission. What she got was a property owner who knew exactly what his rights were and exactly how to defend them. Marcus watched them pack up in silence. The spring continued to bubble peacefully behind him, untouched, protected. When the drilling truck finally pulled away and Karen retreated to her house without another word, Marcus allowed himself a tight smile. The war wasn't over, but the first battle had been decisive. By Monday morning, Marcus's formal complaints had triggered responses from 4 separate government agencies. The State Water Commissioner's office sent an inspector who spent 3 hours documenting the drilling site, photographing the disturbed earth, and collecting soil samples. The county district attorney opened an investigation into unauthorized drilling and potential property damage. The State Environmental Protection Agency launched an inquiry into whether the drilling had contaminated the spring or violated endangered species protections. And Marcus's attorney filed a comprehensive civil lawsuit, seeking $250,000 in damages. Karen's world collapsed with remarkable speed. The HOA's insurance company, upon learning that their president had authorized unpermitted drilling on private property containing protected water rights, immediately denied coverage and sent Karen a letter informing her that she was personally liable for any resulting claims. The 3 board members who voted with Karen on the spring enforcement suddenly couldn't remember supporting the action. Within 48 hours, 2 of them had submitted resignation letters. The third, Martha Chun, called an emergency board meeting and moved to remove Karen as president. The vote was unanimous. On Wednesday, Marcus received a visit from David Preston, the HOA attorney. Preston looked exhausted. Mr. Brennan, I need you to understand that I explicitly advised against any physical action. That email you mentioned? I sent 3 of them. Karen ignored all of them. Marcus invited him in, offered coffee, and listened as Preston explained the full scope of Karen's unauthorized actions. She'd hired the drilling company using HOA funds without board approval. She told the contractors that all permits were handled and that the property was HOA owned. She'd even forged a work authorization document using the HOA's letterhead. Preston handed Marcus a flash drive. Security footage from the HOA office. Karen printing the fake authorization. I thought you'd want it for your lawsuit. Why are you helping me? Marcus asked. Preston looked uncomfortable. Because I'm tired of entitled board members thinking they're above the law. And because I have a spring on my property in Boulder County. And if this proceeding stands, every HOA in Colorado could start claiming authority over pre-existing water rights. Some fights are bigger than one client. The real twist came on Friday. Marcus was reviewing documents when his doorbell rang. A woman in her 60s stood on his porch holding a manila folder. Mr. Brennan? I'm Patricia Morrison. I live at 2855 Ridgemont Drive from 1998 to 2019. Marcus invited her in, curious. Patricia opened the folder and spread out photographs. When I heard about the HOA situation, I thought you should see these. Karen tried the exact same thing with my koi pond in 2018. She claimed it violated covenants, demanded I fill it in, threatened fines. When I refused, mysterious things started happening. My pond pump was sabotaged twice. Someone dumped chemicals in the water. 15 years of raising prize-winning koi, and they were gone in a week. Marcus stared at the photos. Beautiful fish floating in clouded water. A crying woman, police reports. Did you report her? Couldn't prove it. But I moved rather than keep fighting. Patricia's expression hardened. When I heard she was going after your spring, I knew I couldn't stay silent. She's been doing this for years, targeting anyone whose property has features she thinks diminish her property values. You're the first person who's fought back. The information changed Marcus's entire strategy. His attorney subpoenaed HOA records going back a decade and found a pattern. 8 property owners targeted, 6 who'd eventually moved, 2 who'd removed their contested features rather than fight. Karen had weaponized the HOA into her personal enforcement agency, using legal threats and harassment to remake the neighborhood according to her vision. By late January, the situation reached its conclusion. The district attorney charged Karen with fraud, trespassing, and filing false documents. The civil lawsuit settled for $180,000, paid personally by Karen after her homeowner's insurance refused coverage. The HOA board, now completely restructured, voted to amend the covenants to explicitly recognize all pre-existing water rights and to establish an oversight committee for any future enforcement actions. Karen's house went on the market in February. She moved to Arizona in March. 2 months later, Marcus sat on his back deck, watching the spring bubble peacefully in the late afternoon sun. The tiger salamanders had returned to their breeding cycle, undisturbed. His irrigation system hummed quietly, drawing the same clear water it had drawn for generations. A new neighbor, a retired teacher named Helen, had brought over cookies and asked about the spring's history. Marcus had spent an hour showing her the old documents, the geological surveys, the family photos of his father teaching him to maintain the flow. Marcus had learned something profound through this battle. That sometimes justice doesn't come from being reasonable or hoping authorities will intervene. Sometimes it comes from knowing your rights so thoroughly that no amount of intimidation can shake you. The spring had survived 130 years of drought, development, and changing laws. It had survived Karen Whitmore too. And as Marcus listened to the water's eternal whisper, he smiled. Because some things were worth fighting for, and some victories were about more than winning. They were about protecting what matters for the generations still to come. Across the country in Savannah, Georgia, retired patent attorney Rebecca Cho was planting heirloom roses when her HOA demanded she remove them for violating the approved plant list. Rebecca looked up from her garden, soil on her hands, and smiled the same smile that had once dismantled corporate legal teams in federal court. She walked inside and returned with a document. The original 1987 HOA covenant that explicitly permitted any plant species native to coastal Georgia. Her roses were Cherokee roses, the state flower. But that's a story for another time.